I'd like to point out the issues with the Oregon state model for physician-assisted suicide. The potential harms include undermining the integrity of the medical profession, creation of anxiety and distress for patients who fear that physician-assisted suicide will be pushed onto them, even if they do not want it, and use or suggestion of physician-assisted suicide prior to other medical treatments. One issue that comes up with physician-assisted suicide in Oregon's model is that once the pills are prescribed to the patient, how is there any way to know that the patient actually takes those pills? A family member who is annoyed with the constant pain mumblings of a family member can crush them up in their orange juice, or can forcibly make them take the medication. There is no guarantee that the patient actually takes the medication themselves. There is no safeguard against patients or family members going from doctor to doctor until their request for physician-assisted suicide is approved. Since Oregon's Death with Dignity Act has been passed, there has been not one single referral to a counselor for a patient who has requested lethal drugs. Another issue is the oral requests do not have to be made in person. A patient can call the doctor or leave a voicemail on his phone 15 days apart stating they wish to receive their medication. The written requests, same thing. They do not have to be witnessed by the doctor. They can be faxed in or mailed. No proof that proper procedure has been followed. As for the data that is collected annually for the Death with Dignity Act, the only doctors that are providing the information are the ones who are prescribing the lethal drugs. They report whether or not they follow the law. In response to the right to choose, yes, we have the right to choose, but we do not have the right to involve others in our choices. For example, in Baco versus Quill in New York, the ruling was the ban on physician-assisted suicide in New York did not infringe upon fundamental rights because the distinction between physician-assisted suicide and withdrawing life-sustaining treatments had a rational basis. That means deciding not to take a feeding tube or chemo is not the same as physician-assisted suicide because it involves others. Another law in Alaska, the court case Kevin Sampson versus Jane Doe versus State of Alaska, the right to physician-assisted suicide was ruled to not be implicit in text, context, or history of the Alaska Constitution's liberty and privacy clauses. In a Supreme Court case, Washington versus Glucksburg, it was established in a previous case, Moore versus East Cleveland, that liberty interests not deeply rooted in the nation's history do not qualify as being a protected liberty. And the court held that physician-assisted suicide is not a fundamental liberty interest and therefore is not protected under the 14th Amendment. Various states have specific laws against physician-assisted suicide. For example, Alabama's section 13A-6-2 states that physician-assisted suicide is considered murder, and that nothing in this chapter shall be construed to condone, authorize, or approve mercy killing or physician-assisted suicide to permit any affirmative or deliberate act or omission to end life other than to permit the natural process of dying as provided in this chapter. Massachusetts Clause 265.1-201B-12 states something very similar, that it does not authorize or approve suicide or mercy killing or to permit any affirmative or deliberate act to end one's life other than the natural process of dying. Idaho considers physician-assisted suicide a felony, Hawaii manslaughter, California manslaughter, Alaska manslaughter, Connecticut second-degree manslaughter. I could go on. They stated that you have to die, you have to be prognosed that you will die within 6 months. There is no time stamp on anybody's life. That is an estimated guess as to what will happen. And there is no guarantee that that will come true. In response to we cannot legislate morality, we already do. We state that indirect death by withdrawing physical or life-sustaining procedures is moral, but something more direct like physician-assisted suicide or euthanasia is considered immoral and illegal. In response to the statement that who will get hurt, In the New York Times article, one of the leading advocates of euthanasia in past in Australia stated that he felt like an executioner. And again, it is not a private matter. You have to involve at least 2 doctors and 2 witnesses to to be involved in you wishing to kill yourself. In a study in the practice of, in the Journal of American Medical Association by Ezekiel Emanuel, he states that 25% of doctors regret having performed euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide on their patients, and that they've reported significant emotional burden having performed them, and in doing so, led to changes in their practice patterns. For example, a case in 2008 in Oregon, Barbara Wagner had her cancer return, and her doctor prescribed her medication that had the ability to slow down the cancer's growth. Her health care through Oregon Health Plan stated that they would not pay for her life-saving or life-sustaining medication, but in their letter to her, they stated that they would cover prescriptions for physician-assisted suicide. When confronted with this information after the article or the interview was posted in the Eugene Registered Guard, the Oregon Health Plan said that they routinely send letters to patients who have little chance of surviving more than 5 years, saying that they will pay for physician-assisted suicide. This proves that their goal is to not end pain and suffering, but to save money, and 6 months is not necessarily a time frame followed by all, that it will go all the way up to 5 years.